Ladies and gentlemen of the 8-Horn RC YouTube channel, welcome back. We have another banger video here today. I will be going over every bit and piece of the B84 carpet car setup that I use at FCC RC1 Limitless. 3 separate tracks. It's been dialed at all 3. Throw it down. I'm going to give you the speed secrets on how to make sure yours is just as dialed. Alright boys, you guys know the drill. We started off with the front end here, kicking it off with the left front specifically on this, John. We got +1 steering plates. I do prefer the +1s because they are pretty sharp compared to the +2s. Now, if you want the car to be easy to drive and smooth and a little bit more Cadillac, then I would suggest running a +2 on there. But if you're having problems with the corner speed and you need more steering, throw some +1s on that, John. I wouldn't recommend the zeros because those are pretty darn aggressive and hard to drive. So your brain will tend to bleed with zeros, but +1s, nice balance there. If you want it to be easier, you can always go +2. I always run 0 millimeters underneath this balsa washer and 1 millimeter under the balsa washer. Haven't really tuned with that, just kind of run that John like that. We got a 5 millimeter hex on there. That is with the AE rim. If you run JC wheels, that is 1 millimeter wider, so you're going to want a 4 millimeter hex with a JC rim and a 5 millimeter hex with a team associated 1 offset wheel. I run 2 millimeters on this balsa washer. That's actually a tune that I did make during the event that kind of helped me out quite a bit. I was kind of floating around 5th or 6th each round with 1 millimeter right there, and then when I went to 2, that's when I picked up some speed and started battling in the top 3. So just a little bit of added support there with the front end, and it was speedy. It was Speedy Gonzalez out there. Caster insert, we have +1, and you may be asking, Dornis, why are we adding caster if we want all the corner speed in the world? Well, that is because you have to add caster when you run the least amount of front kick-up as possible. That's right, I said least amount of front kick-up as possible on this, John. That means that the A block is all the way down and the B block is all the way up, and we also are running them wide, so we got 1 down and out, and then 1 up and out in the B here. Not to mention the axle height is at 2 on this, John. I did test 3 and 1. 2 seems to be the best for me. 3 is a little bit on the rigid side. So run that, John, at 2. You don't want it to be too stiff. With that being said, diff height all the way up. I mean, I'm talking 3. Slam that, John, all the way up. And it's the smoothest feel. When you lower it, it gets a little bit hard to drive. So I just plow that John on the moon, high as it'll go, run that John at 3. And in this diff, now that we're talking about the height, let's talk about the diff fluid. I got 4-gear metal LTC gears that come in the kit with 40,000 weight fluid. I can run the 1-Up Racing 40,000 weight fluid, as factory team does not make 40,000. So that's what I run on the front diff. Seems to be a pretty hot tune. Nice balance of corner speed and drivability, just how we like it. Coupled with the 1/8 front bar. I think the 1/8 front bar is probably the way to go. Like I said, good balance of support and speed out of that 1/8 front bar. Wheelbase shims, got the arm in the middle. Haven't really played with that much. Although if I did, I don't think it would make that big of a difference. Moving on here. We got the shocks in the middle hole. You probably can't see it because this tower cover is a big boy. But shocks in the middle hole. Haven't really tuned the other holes, so I mean, feel free to venture out and explore the jungle there. But I run them in the middle and inside here. Haven't really messed with outside. Seems to be a pretty good shock setup. We'll go over the shock setup later in the video, but the way the shock is tuned right now is for inside, middle, and it's a very good boy with that setting. Now the last thing to cover on the front end is this camber link. I have messed with this camber link quite a bit, and up and out seems to be the preferred setting. A little bit more support for the front end. Keep that front end nice and up throughout the corner. Let it ride, and talk about corner speed, baby. That's how you get it right there. This camber link right here, just slam that John in there, and she's sharp, she's quick, and she barks. I do have some prototype DCV axles in this thing. The DCV is not released yet, but it will be soon. And let me tell you, once it is, you're gonna want to throw those Johns on your B84. They make carpet racing a little bit easier, a nice smooth feel. So as soon as those hit the market, hit add to cart and let it ride. Moving on to the rear end of this fine steed right here, we have the shocks all the way leaned in. That is the nice, easy, smooth setting to drive. If you want a little bit more steering, then you can stand those Johns right up, but I'm gonna warn you, it gets a little over the nose with those settings. So I recommend to just lean those Johns in, call it good, middle hole on the arm, call it good. Don't even mess with nothing else. Now, more things that we don't mess with on the rear end here. 7mm hex, maximum stability, yet still legal. Just run that John. Rear camber link here. I prefer a pretty soft rear link. It's rather long and it is raised, so rear link, which it's mounted in and center on height. I know the kit has you do it out and down, which is a quite stiff setting. I didn't really appreciate the feeling that the kit setting offered there, so your car is going to be a little easier to drive for sure if you go in and center height there. So I would recommend doing that tune. But with it mounted in, you don't want it to be too long, so we do 2mm of shims out here. I just stick with 1mm on the ball stud height, but 2 on the camber link shimming hub itself. And let it ride. For the hub itself, we have an HRC hub at axle height 2. Now you don't want to go to 3 because that's when your inner rear wheel will start lifting in the corners and it gets edgy, so you're not going to want to run that setting. Just run that John at 2. It seems to be a pretty good compromise. I've done all the testing, so you guys don't have to. And we got a good package here, so just trust me here. Trust me on this one. I know you guys just want to run axles slam to the ceiling. Not the move here. Not the move. Just trust. Diff height. We go axle height 1, but it's a +2 gearbox. So axle height 1 may sound kind of low to begin with, but it's a +2 gearbox, so it's really not as low as it sounds. Seems to be a good tune. Pill settings. We tune the pills a lot. You guys know me. You guys know Dornis. Come on, always tuning the pills. But we found a pretty good baseline setup for the pill package on this John, and that is going to be 1 up and out in the C block and 1 in center in the D block. So we're adding a little bit of anti-squat, get a little bit more support on that rear end, getting on power with the added stiffness that comes along with the extra anti-squat. And the pills with this setting are pretty quick, so if your car does get a little bit hard to drive, you can just go to 0.5 in on the D block, and that will give you a little bit more rear grip and lock it in a slight amount. You are going to lose a little bit of corner speed with that tune though, so it is something to think about, be conscious of, and play with. Moving forward to the rear bar, we run a 2.0 and let that John run. I did test a 1.9 and it was not great. Little squirmy, started collapsing with the 1.9, so I would recommend just putting the 2.0 on there. Thickest bar we make, just throw that John on, and like we said previously, let it ride. And that is just about it for the rear end, but I will go over the rear diff setting real quick because I am realizing right now that I forgot about that rear diff. So it's at height 1, +2 gearbox, 4 gear, LTC metal, just like the front, only this one has 30,000 in it. So we're running 40 in the front, 30 in the rear. Seems to be a good balance in the tune there, and haven't really strayed from that much. If you're on a lower grip track, then it may help to go 30-20, a little bit more rotation. But 40-30 has been pretty solid for me. As promised, going over the shock package, here we go. In the front, we got a VRP flapper valve piston with 55 weight oil and a red flap at a 2x1.7. X-ray 4-dot front spring. I know you're saying, Dornis, you know, X-ray, that's not really, you know, the ideal brand. And I'll give it to them, you know, those jokes, you know, they have produced a decent spring for this car on carpet. So, you know, I like it. Sue me. you know, what are you going to do about it? Sometimes you just got to cave. Rear shock package. Once again, X-ray 4-dot rear spring there. You know, it is what it is, guys. You know, I don't make the rules around here. Just throw them Johns on and don't say nothing about it. But rear piston, still VRP flapper valve. We got a red valve in this one, so red valving. 2x1/8 with 37 weight oil. Tune a bunch of oils, 37 is where I landed, so 55, 37, 17, 18, red, X-ray 4-dots, call it good. It's a nice plush shock package, and I think you guys are going to be motorboating those transitions quite well with this tune. And you know, I'm not even sponsored by VRP, but I will give them a little shout out here. They do make some good pistons on carpet, and you know, throw them on. Give them a try. Why not? You know, you only live once. Throw some shock pistons on there. Primo. LFG. Moving forward to the electronics on this fine steed here. Starting with the SG6 Zapper. 4800 low profile. Very good, boy. It's not all the way forward. It is one hole from being all the way forward, and I kind of just lay rad right there. Don't really tune it much. Just throw it right there. Pretty good spot. And send it. But yeah, low profile battery. You don't want the big hog there on carpet. We're going lightweight, boys. We're going lightweight here. Speaking of lightweight, we have the Shorty Servo, the 2007A Reedy Shorty Servo. Don't want the big boy, you know, like I said, lightweight. And we got you here with the Reedy products. Look at this bad boy. Reedy M445. You know how fast that is? Do you know how much torque is in this John? It is enough power to generate power for the entire county. My house is being ran off of a 4.5 just sitting on my porch going wide open right now. That's how much power this thing generates. And like I said, Reedy, I mean, only the Reedies do that. So if you want to power your house, you don't need a generator. You just need a Reedy 4.5. No other brand is going to do that for you. But it's got to be cooled off with the Reedy fan. You know, it'll overheat power in all these neighborhoods. So I go with the aluminum casing because it looks prime and it doesn't break, which is another great tune that Reedy offers. 610R to make sure it turns on. You're going to want to go plus to plus, minus to minus, and if you do that properly and you have a charged battery, you should hit this button and it should just turn right on just like that. So we were able to execute that flawlessly. Moving forward, we run the decoupled slipper in the carpet. All the carpet tracks, you know, you're going to want that decoupled slipper, but you don't want to run it too loose. A lot of people I see running this thing really loose. What happens when you run it loose is you drove into a 180 and you go to hit the brakes and you just ain't got no brakes because you took away all your front brakes with the decoupled slipper. So I run mine fairly tight, just tight enough to make sure that those front brakes are helping me slow down when I'm charging those corners. If you do that, you can go fast out there. I mean, TQ pace fast. And that will do it for this steed. We can go over the aero package on carpet. Bam! Kit body. It doesn't get easier. Just throw a kit body on this, John. It is very stable, very smooth to drive, and on carpet that is an absolute must. So the B84 kit body is quite pristine when it comes to that category of necessities. I recommend a 7-inch wing. Doesn't really matter what brand, just throw a 7-inch wing on there and it will make life a little bit easier because 4-wheel drive on carpet can be quite the hassle at times. So you just want to make it smooth with the aero package, and these two options do help do that. Now I will say this car has been completely tuned around the hot race tires. We got a V1 soft medium front. I run soft or soft medium most of the time. And this is a prototype V2 rear tire that will be out very soon, probably within the next couple weeks it will hit the market. So this is a soft medium compound that I've been liking a lot at RC1 and Limitless. We competed at FCC with the soft compound, also a good way to go. And yeah, nothing really else to be said about that. I can't guarantee that this setup will be great if you're not on hot race tires. That is a pretty big key to the program. These tires do handle, every tire handles very differently, so it is tough to just throw on a setup and not run the preferred tires. As you can see, the sidewall is glued up till about this little point with my wrench right here. Maybe if it's tough to see, I'll A little shout out for the tire glue on the sidewall there. It does make it a little easier. Other than that, ride height at 11 and let that Johnny bark. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Quick video just to get you this B84 space shuttle technology. We're going to put you on the moon. I'm going to call Elon. We're going to get you guys on the moon at your next club race. How does that sound? You just follow this setup, get you some hot race tires going, some Reed electronics, the Team Associate B84, and you'll be literally driving a Land Rover on the moon, taking calls from NASA. So if that sounds like fun to you, then I would get in on this opportunity while we still have it. And yeah, like and subscribe if you found this video useful. Make sure to tune back in to the next one. Whatever we're going to be rambling about, it's going to help you out. So if you made it this far in the video, I love you, obviously. Thank you. And like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the track when you're dominating.